Welcome to Dish and Nutrition Podcast, where we dish on trending nutrition topics, all the while making it easy and fun to understand. I'm your host, Sarah Williams. And I know, you don't have to tell me. I'm sad that Emma's not here today either, but she is taking a very much needed R&R relaxation rest with her husband. They are enjoying their time together, and I'm so happy for them, but I am not bitter at all that she's not here today. No, I'm just kidding. I hope she is having a blast, but we will miss her again. It is just me rambling to myself, so really sorry for whatever tangents I get on. I'm just a free spirit today with no control over my mouth, and I don't have a moderator to help me stay on task. Let's just see where today takes us. Before I get into this episode, I did want to do a little bit of housekeeping. I want to correct myself. I misspoke in a previous episode. It was the sugar episode. I said you had to have 800 cans of soda to be the equivalent amount of aspartame that the rats were given in the study to have the effects that the rats did. And I was wrong. It is not 800 cans. It's more like 80 cans of soda. But I really want you to pause and before you get your pitchforks out and yell at me, unless you're having 80 cans of soda, my point still stands, and I still do not have any issues with aspartame unless you're drinking 80 cans of diet soda every single day. So neither here nor there, but I did want to correct myself. I never want to be in the wrong just openly. So I wanted to get a correction on that really quick. So I do apologize for that, but it is more like 80 cans of soda, but I guess neither here nor there. As I sip my Diet Coke right now. So delicious. Was that like ASMR to you? Okay, I'll stop being annoying. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about hydration and electrolytes. Should you be taking electrolytes? They're everywhere. I feel like it's the new hot thing that's on the market right now in terms of supplementation. And we're just going to get into, do you need it? Should you take it? Why would I take it? But first, we've got to understand what hydration is. I know you're not dumb, so I don't feel like I need to explain hydration, but I like to have always a point of reference, so we're going to talk about it. Hydration is one of those topics that are really straightforward. You drink water, stay hydrated, right? But there's just so much more to it, actually. Water makes up about 60% of our body weight, and it's crucial for every bodily function. Just for instance, it regulates our temperature, keeps our joints lubricated, helps prevent infection, deliver nutrients to cells, and, keeps your organs functioning properly. A little bit important. This is your reminder right now. If you're listening it to in the car and you have your iced coffee, I want you to stop and go get some water, or drink water as soon as you get to the office or wherever you may be. Go get some water right now. Take a drink. Do it. I'm not kidding. All right. Don't you feel better? Anyway, just emphasizing that water is very important. But hydration isn't just about, I just needed to quench my thirst. Like I just said, it keeps everything functioning. It's about maintaining the right balance of fluids in your body, because if it's imbalanced, so many things can happen. The balance is so crucial for your cells to operate efficiently. Even if you're dehydrated, even just by 1 to 2%, you can start to feel those effects like fatigue, dizziness, or even really bad headaches. I can tell immediately when I have not had enough water throughout the day, because I get a very specific headache and where it's at. And I'm like, oh, that's not my sinuses. Oh, that's not this. That's not environmental. That is me not drinking enough water. And goes without saying, when the dehydration gets more severe, it can lead to even more serious complications. So we obviously do not want that to happen. But what about those electrolytes? What the heck do they have to do with hydration? Let's dive into electrolytes. You might hear that word thrown around a lot, specifically in the context of sports drinks and hydration, even those little packets that you can be stirred into your drinks. But what are they, and why are they so important, apparently? Great question. Electrolytes are minerals that carry an electric charge. Very important. Again, going back to chemistry, you're fine. It's not class. I'm not quizzing you. The most common electrolytes are going to be your sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, chloride, bicarbonate, and phosphate. So fun, right? Say that 5 times fast. Anyway, they're found in your blood, urine, and bodily fluids. And they are essential. Cannot emphasize the importance of these things because they help regulate a range of bodily functions, including your muscle contractions, nerve signaling, and maintaining that balance of fluids inside and outside of your cells. So intracellular and extracellular happenings. Just to give you a snippet into the importance of them, for instance, sodium and potassium, so they are BFFs and they work together to manage your body's water balance. Calcium is key for muscle function, and magnesium plays a role in over 300 biochemical reactions in the body, including energy production. But I don't need to tell you that. It's important. You know that it's important. Personal side story tangent. I, for one, have a very electrolyte-based heart condition. Now, the heart condition itself, it is an electrical issue. Nothing can fix it, basically. It's genetic. However, it can be exacerbated and I can be at a higher risk for going into cardiac arrest. Hashtag been there, done that. But I'm at a higher risk for going into cardiac arrest if I have an off balance or imbalance of electrolytes. So my first cardiac event, I was a little low on potassium. It was a little bit in the low range. So I went into cardiac arrest. I'm not saying that is the reason I went into cardiac arrest, but it did exacerbate that already standing and existing heart condition that I had. Second time I went into cardiac arrest, I believe my calcium was a little low. So I have to stay on top of my electrolyte balances. I have to be sure that I'm being cognizant of what I'm eating and drinking and how much of what that goes into my body just to not make that heart condition even more troubling, finicky as it already is. Complete random side story, but just to tell you how important it is. Now that we went over that, how do hydration and electrolytes work together in our day-to-day lives? Fantastic question, Sarah. So when you sweat, whether it's from exercise, heat, even stress, yes, you can sweat even when you're stressed. You lose both water and electrolytes. And if you don't replace them, you could end up with that imbalance, leading to those issues like muscle cramps, fatigue, and even more extreme cases like when you're outside, severe conditions like heat stroke. The good news is that for most people, a balanced diet provides basically all the electrolytes that you need. Fruits, veggies, dairy, nuts, and seeds. They're great sources of all those essential minerals. And then drinking your water on top of it generally should be enough to keep your electrolyte levels in check. However, I always like to say, I know there are very specific conditions, mine included, that are very electrolyte dependent. So please adhere to whatever your doctor has recommended for you and your specific condition. I know some are more exacerbated by electrolytes. One specific that I'm thinking of is POTS. I realize that one is very heavily electrolyte based as well. So want to keep those people and be sensitive to those conditions, but this is just for the general public and healthy population. If you have different recommendations from your doctor, please adhere to those. I ain't getting sued today. But the next question is that I know everyone is talking about, especially since there are so many advertisements for it. Should you be taking an electrolyte supplement? Something like those little powders that you add to your drinks or so on and so forth. Should you be taking them? And my favorite answer that I give to people when they ask me nutrition questions is, it depends. It just depends. It depends on what your conditions look like, where you're living, how high up from sea level do you live? Like, there are so many different things that impact that answer. There are so many different things that impact the answer of this question. So of course, I'm just going to say it depends. For most people who are eating a balanced diet and staying, moderately active, not like Olympic training or anything like that, there's usually no need for additional electrolyte supplements. Your body is pretty good at managing its own electrolyte balance. Relatively speaking, it's pretty good. However, like I touched on just a minute ago, there are situations where electrolyte supplementation, it might be necessary. For like example, if you're someone who's engaging in prolonged, intense exercise, and I'm not saying your 30 minutes of weightlifting down at your local gym. I'm talking intense marathon running or long distance cycling. Those people might benefit from electrolyte drinks or supplements to replace what they're losing through sweat. I even recommend my husband, who's flying long hours with no water and is sweating because his airplane doesn't have air conditioning until he reaches a certain altitude. I recommend it to him because I know how much he's sweating and how much hydration and electrolytes he's losing. Those are just some quick instances that I can think of. There are other reasons why you could want to take a supplement, but those are the ones that come to my mind first. Some acute scenarios that if you're dealing with like an illness that causes dehydration, that causes you to emit electrolytes regarding severe diarrhea or vomiting, those cases, definite electrolyte replenishment can be crucial to avoid those complications. And yes, I know someone's going to ask me after having a little bit too many margaritas, if you find yourself being dehydrated that next day, yes, you could probably benefit from taking a electrolyte supplement that next day. But that being said, it's important to approach the electrolyte supplements with caution. Cannot emphasize that enough because over-supplementation can lead to that imbalance. And too much of certain electrolytes, especially sodium and potassium, those can cause really serious health issues. Really serious. So I cannot say this enough. Do not take it lightly when you're taking those electrolyte supplementations. Use them when you need them. Just don't do it willy-nilly throughout the day because you do not want electrolyte imbalance. And always consult with a healthcare provider before adding any supplements to your routine. I know you're so sick of me hearing that, but hey, CYA. And a kind of segue out of electrolytes and to answer another question that's very common in my DMs is how much water should I be drinking? And that also, it depends. So calculating how much water you should drink very much depends on factors like body weight, activity level, overall health, climate, things like that. So there's a couple methods that you can use to estimate your daily water intake, and I'm going to go over a few, but just know like there's a lot that you can go by. Just pick one and run with it. Just pick one and run with it. The most common recommendation or the standard recommendations that most doctors or dietitians start with clients or patients is the 8x8 rule. So this is like very simple, very common. You drink 8-ounce glasses of water per day, which totals about 2 liters or half a gallon. Very easy to remember, but I don't love it because it doesn't account for your individual differences. If you just need something to cling to and want a goal of, sure, go for it. But if you want more individualized methods, here are some that I like to adhere by personally. One that I really like is the body weight method. So it's to drink 0.5 to 1 ounce of water for each pound of body weight. To put it into practice, for example, if you weigh 150 pounds, you should aim for 75 to 150 ounces of water per day. So that 75 is that 0.5. So that should be the minimum amount of water. And then that 150 ounces of water is that maximum ounces of water per day that you should be getting. So it gives you a minimum and a maximum, which I kind of like. 0.5 to 1 and anywhere in between. I kind of like to give myself a range. That one is probably my favorite. And then we have an activity level adjustment. I realize in this day of age, in the year of our Lord 2024, every single person has a very different activity level. And it's important to keep that in mind when you're thinking about hydration, of course, because I just talked on the plethora of reasons why you don't want an imbalance or dehydration, yada, yada, yada. So there's an activity level adjustment. If you're active, you need more water to compensate for the fluid lost through sweat. That seems pretty like, yeah, of course, I'm losing it. I can see it. It's visible. It is no longer in my body. It's outside of my body. So therefore I no longer have it. So yes, you should be drinking a little bit more. A general guideline that I like to recommend is to add 12 ounces of water for every 30 minutes of exercise. So if you're working out for an hour, 24 more ounces of water than what you would do on a day that you didn't sweat for an hour. Does that make sense? Pretty easy. Not bad. And it doesn't add like, whoa, that's so much. Like it just replaces that electrolyte and hydration that was lost during that working out period. And then finally, we have, I said the other one was my favorite. I lied. This one is my favorite recommendation because it's the lazy man's way of knowing if you're being hydrated. And it's just looking at your pee. It's not sexy in any way, but it's just looking at your urine color. Monitoring the color of your urine is pretty practical and pretty easy to gauge your hydration level. Ideally, your urine should be about light yellow or pale straw colored. If your urine is completely clear, you're drinking too much water. It should not be clear, not good. Hold back on a little bit of water. We want to see that pale yellow color. On the contrast, dark yellow or like amber typically indicates dehydration. I know diseases and conditions can impact the color of your urine. So if you do suffer a condition that can impact that, do not use this method. But if you're someone who's a part of the healthy general public, urine color is a pretty easy way to gauge, hey, am I doing okay? Like I should probably drink some water, or I need to, hey, my pee it's clear. It looks like I just poured water in here. Maybe you should back off on some water too. Cannot emphasize the importance of being imbalanced, whether it be too much or too little. Some closing remarks. All I have is hydration and electrolyte balance. They're crucial, right? They're crucial for keeping your body functioning at its very best and at its optimal performance level. While most of us can get what we need from water in a balanced diet, like I said before, there are situations where electrolyte supplementation, it might be necessary. You definitely want to talk to your doctor if you feel like you meet those needs. But the biggest thing is just listening to your body and staying informed and talking to someone who is well-versed in it, because it is so important to not be imbalanced regarding electrolytes and hydration. All right. That was very short and sweet, and I'm really sorry. I can only banter with my imaginary self for so long. I don't foresee this being a very long episode, and I do apologize. I don't have my friend here with me to keep the banter going and go off on different tangents. I feel like I did pretty good at like staying on topic. I feel like I did good. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for that. But I definitely miss Emma, but I'm glad she's having a fun time with her family and resting up. I don't believe she'll be back next week either, so you're just going to have to suffer through and listen to me talk. I promise I will try not to make it as painful as I will do my best to make it not very painful for your ears. I'll try to make it very interesting. And I hope this was an interesting episode regardless. I mean, I talked about pee, I talked about exercise, I talked about hydration and electrolytes. It's a very common question I get, so I hope it was somewhat informative. If not, if you're this far and you didn't get informed, well, thanks for the listening view, I guess. Anyway, that is all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you have a question that you want us to cover, just go to our Instagram, Dish and Nutrition Podcast. Go to the highlight reel, put it in the box, and we'll look at it going forward. But I guess with that, you've been dished.